Now, the game is get as much money into investment holding as you can.
Yeah, yeah.
So psychologically, what we've done is we've it's all psychological, strategy here. But psychologically, what we've done is we've separated our money from the business's money.
Yep.
You say, Don, isn't it my business? It is, but the business eats cash too, and it's very hungry. So you need to protect the business at all costs because the business is what pays you.
Yes.
So you've got to protect that operating expense account. You've got to protect the tax account because, I have a dear, dear friend who just called me recently and said, Don, they've shut down, the government has come in and shut down my operating expense account because she didn't pay state taxes. So the state came in and shut it down. And I said, how much money was in your tax account? She said, I didn't have one. I was just paying it out of my operating expense account. So it's very important that we separate that money. She's fine, by the way. We were able to get her through it, and she's fine. But the real key is when you ask yourself how successful is your business, I have one question for you. How much money is your investment holding account?
Ooh.
Because that's the real money.
Yeah.
Now, here's the trick. Here's what old white people know.
Come on, talk to us. Talk to us.
What old white people know, and more African Americans are figuring it out. And the more African Americans figure this out, the better off our overall American economy is. And that is this. Investment holding, you can spend it. If you want to buy a bass boat, spend it. If you want to buy a house, what I did with it is I bought a house because I knew in the luxury market in Nashville this thing is going to make a ton of money. But now that the house is paid off, what I do with that is I put it into stocks. I put it into equity in other small businesses. I put it into products, if you will, CDs, treasury bonds, stocks. I put it into products that make me money without me having to work. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah.
So even if it's $50, go buy a treasury bond.
Come on.
And just get that money away from you. Now, here's what happens. You make an extremely conservative 5% on the money you invest. I probably make 8 to 10. And I'm not an investor, so there's other people making a lot more.
Yeah.
But you make at least 5%. So if you put $100,000 into investments, it is making you $5,000 a year.
Yeah.
Now, at the end of a year, you got 105. At the end of the next year, you got about 111.
Yep.
So on and so on. So we all know the power of compound interest. So I have a group of interns that all just graduated from Tennessee State. And we're sitting around the conference table, and I said to them, look, you're driving down the street, your car, you're about to throw a rod in that engine. It's gone. These kids are, they're just barely out of college. and I said, you see a Toyota 4Runner, and it's $10,000. How much does that truck cost? And they looked at me like, didn't you just say it cost $10,000? I'm like, how much does it cost? They said $10,000. I said, wrong. Because in order to get that $10,000 as an entrepreneur, you had to put $10,000 into taxes.
Ooh.
So you had to earn $20,000 to get that $10,000 truck. And I said, how much does it cost? And they said, $20,000. I said, wrong. Let's say you took that $10,000 and you put it into investments. Well, you're going to get 5% on that investment, which means in 20 years, that $10,000 turns into $20,000. So the opportunity cost on your truck is $10,000 extra, meaning 20 years from now, that Toyota 4Runner is going to cost you $30,000. Take an Uber. Now, here's what really blew their minds is that let's say that you keep doing this, and I know everybody listening is like, this dude is talking about money. You have no idea how much money you were going to have 24 months from now. You really don't know.
Right.
And you might have to manage it. And I would say just be prepared. And if you can manage the small money this way, then when it gets big,
yes,
you start rolling in it, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is somebody like Warren Buffett, let's say he's got $100 billion in investments. He has actually more than that.
Yeah.
But let's say he's got $100 billion. How do the 1% of the 1% get this money and create this wealth disparity in our country? And there's a massive wealth disparity, and by the way, it's a problem. Mm-hmm. But how does it happen? Well, if he's got $100 billion in his investment that he took out of his investment holding and put it into stocks and all that kind of stuff, he's making $5 billion a year to do nothing. To do nothing. Now, $5 billion a year is what he's making. Now, you say, well, Don, why doesn't he take it out? Well, here's why he doesn't take it out. He doesn't take it out for two reasons. One, if he takes money out of the market, he has to pay taxes. So you and I pay taxes on what we make. Mm-hmm. Warren Buffett only pays taxes on what he spends. The tax code is not fair in the sense that if you make money off money, you don't pay taxes on it. But if you make money off work, you do. Isn't that horrible? Now you say, well, why is the government doing that? Well, the government does that because the billions that he has in the market are actually capital that corporations can use to create jobs.
Facts.
Now, what Warren Buffett does, let's say he wants $100 million. Now, if he takes $100 million out of his stock portfolio, two things happen. One is he signals to all the other people who have invested in his company that he doesn't believe in his company. Mm-hmm. He's taking money out. And then they start taking money out, and then his company implodes. So now he's invested. He's incentivized to leave it in the market, right? And what does it do in the market? It creates compound interest, and he just gets richer and richer.
Yeah.
Not only that, if he takes $100 million out, he has to give $20 million to the government.
Yep.
So what he does is he goes down to the bank, and he says, "Look, I've got $100 billion right over there. See it?" And they're like, "Yeah, we see it." And he says, "Can I borrow $100 million against that $100 billion?" And they say, "Heck yeah." Like, you're good for it. And then he pays 4% interest on the $100 million that he borrowed instead of 20% tax on the $100 million he took out.
That's just a whole.
So he is literally, these people are not evil. They're literally just like going, you don't have to be smart to figure that out. You're just like, well, wait a second. If I pull that out, I pay $20 million. If I pull this out, I pay like, what, $8,000? Oh. And they're like, yeah, well, then I'm going to pull this out for $8,000. So we do have to figure out as a country how to incentivize really wealthy people into what I would do is I'd create an SBA, a Small Business Association fund. And what I would do is I'd guarantee 5% interest if Warren Buffett puts his money in this fund. So now we're competing with the stock market, but small business owners would have access to his capital, and he would not be charged any taxes on that capital. In fact, he'd make money on it. Then the rest of us would be able to get to that money, right? But Warren Buffett is not a bad guy. He's just a guy going, look, don't call me bad because I'm rich. All I'm doing is like not doing anything with my money. Literally, that's all I'm doing is not doing anything with it like we should all be doing. So what I love doing, and this book talks about it, is if the rest of us can learn how to do that, which they don't teach in school, if entrepreneurs can learn how to do that, then you and I can start rolling in millions too. It's really fun, Anthony. If you get into it, it's really, really fun. But the key is, though, you've got to build a business that will make enough money so that when you check your investment holding account, it's going up. And then you can go find those products, those financial products that you can buy to make money without work.
So I have 4. I did not have the investment holding account, and I'll be honest on my own show.
Well, the investment holding it's a temporary account, right? Like you're putting money in it, and when you go, and you're going to have to choose. Like, do you want to put the $50,000 into the stock market, or do you want to say, wait a second, if that gets to $250,000, I might be able to buy equity in somebody else's small business, or I might be able to buy a duplex, or whatever. You kind of play that game with it, but the money doesn't stay in investment holding because cash in the bank is not making you enough money to compete with inflation. So that money you do what you want with, but ultimately at the end of the day, and I mean at the end of a very short period of time, you end up having a portfolio that is making you money without, and then as long as you're working and making money and getting your salary and living off that salary, you are getting rich.
Yes, sir.
So what I say is don't buy the bass boat or the albino tiger or the parakeet that can say cuss languages in foreign language. Don't buy that with the money you make. Buy it with the money your investments make.
Good.
So buy toys and have fun and go on that culinary vacation in Italy where you're eating your way across whatever. Buy that with the money your investments make, because the next year that money is replaced year after year after year after year. And that's how the wealthy live.
That's how they do it. Thank you, Donna. Thank you. I'm sitting here. I'm like, this is what we need. This is the conversation that Black people, the Black community, the minority community, we need to hear. And thank you for literally bringing that conversation to the table, because, I mean, it's learning. And I know people are thinking like, well, wait, he said his investment account was able to build his home. There's a whole strategy for that. And we got to bring you back on the show to talk about that, you know?
Well, but the other thing is, like, the only way any of this works is if your business is making money.
That's good.
And so you've got to focus on just the work. You know, what am I doing to make money, to get money to flow down the assembly line through the 5 accounts into investment holding?
Yeah.
And once you figure that out, you know, then you've got a money-making machine. Your business exists to buy products that make you money without working.